NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about.
Did you ever hear that myth growing up that police officers had this magical quota of tickets that they had to write before the end of the month? And then at the end of the month, they would just go on this spree of writing all of these tickets in order to meet their quota? Y'all remember that myth? Kind of like the myth of if you leave a light on at night during the car, it's illegal, we'll get pulled over, we'll get a ticket for having a light on. Your parents ever tell you that one? Yeah, it's all a lie. It's all a myth. All right, but that myth and this idea that there's this magical quota of infractions or tickets that we have to write in order to meet our quota at the end of the month, that vibe, that feeling, that's the exact kind of feeling I get right now with the NCAA. This idea that, hey, we're on our last legs, the end of the month, let's start writing a bunch of tickets. That's what I'm getting right now. That's the vibes that the NCAA is putting out. And I'll be honest, inconsistencies were their old bag. The idea that they weren't going to be consistent about their decision making, we knew that. That's long been their bag at the NCAA, right? Before the portal was around, getting some type of consistent decision making with regards to, hey, who's going to be eligible, who's not, it was basically, are you a quarterback or are you not? There were no consistencies. We are used to them being inconsistent, right? We're used to them being inconsistent with their punishments, inconsistent with their investigations. Inconsistency is what they do. But this new stuff, this new inconsistency reeks of pettiness. That's what it reeks of. This is something very, very new. This is childish behavior from the NCAA. This is the behavior of a wounded animal that we've been seeing from the NCAA. The precipice of death type of behavior. And after all, that's exactly what we're watching right now with the NCAA. We are watching a death happen slowly. That's exactly what we've seen with conference realignment and playoff expansion. Okay, that wasn't a rhetorical question. I'm just telling you that's what's happening. As conference realignment happens, as playoff expansion happens, slowly but surely we are separating our beloved sport of football from the NCAA. So when the news of today comes down that Maason Smith is being suspended for signing autographs before name, image, and likeness was enacted, okay, this is wounded dog behavior. That's all this is. This is an animal that is on the precipice of death, lashing out one last time. This is a football player in Maason Smith that's coming back from a catastrophic injury and is one of the sport's premier talents. If there is a better defensive tackle in college football right now than Maason Smith, I don't know who he is. He is an elite football player, and he is one that's been dealing with like I said, a catastrophic injury. This is telling a dude to sit out one of arguably the most biggest and most highly anticipated football games of what? The entire first half of the season? And we're doing it for signing his name on autographs of his imaging that represent his likeness just months before you pass a bill, allowing him to do so. This is beyond petty. This is beyond inconsistency. This is a new kind of shit. This is a new kind of stench coming from the NCAA. And like everything else that's come out of these guys, I don't necessarily like it. I don't necessarily like it at all. I think it's kind of bush league, and I don't think there's a word for it other than horseshit. I think it's kind of horseshit what the NCAA did to Maason Smith today. Welcome in. We got a great show for you guys tonight. A loaded one as per usual here on NBR or Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. We're going to tell you why your football team will not win a national title tonight. We're here to rain on some parades. Hope you guys hate watch us and enjoy it. And, you know, have a little fun. Fire off in the chat. Tell us why we're wrong. All that good stuff. We're going to preview college football. It does start this weekend. Week 0 coming to us real quick. We got ACC predictions. It's the final week before week 0. We figured we'd get our tail of the tape out. We'd get our predictions out. So we have our final Power 5 football conference tonight in the ACC. We're going to give out some awards over there. We're also going to be talking about the best jerseys in college football. I think the boys are going to have something for us with regards to that. And we're going to do one more preview of our Mic'd Up series coming to you this next week. But first, I want to give a quick little shout out to our folks over at Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com, promo code Brooks today. You're getting a 100% deposit match, okay? So if you're not over on PrizePicks yet, you need to be. Let me explain how this happens. There are over-unders set on player totals for each individual game. You go in there, you pick at least 3, you put them up. Hey, are they going to go over? Are they going to go under? You make your selection, you get at least 3 of them, you put a little wager in there, and the bonus plays are up to 25x, right? You can make 25 times your initial entry with just one solid win. And we are 1-1. We are 1 for our last 1 here on this network. Boy, Jay Will got a lock in for us on the first show. Don't know how that's playing out right now. I'm pretty sure that's active and live.
We're hoping for the second half to be a little stronger. That's how we're feeling right now.
Hey, you know what? PrizePicks got a problem. PrizePicks got a problem because we're a good first half team. But we're a great second half team around this part right here. You understand me? God, I hope Kenny Dallas doesn't watch the show, because if he does, he's like, that some bitch ripping everything I've ever done. It's funny how when you become, not when you become an on-air talent, but when you go into doing something like this, you never really realize how many different people impacted your personality. When I go back and watch my stuff, because I have to, our stuff, when I go back and watch it, I'm like, damn, you're Michael McKinney. You're your stepdad. You're your stepdad mixed with a little bit of your pops, mixed with a little bit of Kenny Dallas, mixed with a little bit of Ike, mixed with a little bit of Kirby Smart. Like, you're a bunch of amalgamations mixed with some Bomani Jones. There's some Ryan Russillo in there. What you're doing now is a little Dan Levitardi. Like, I try a bunch of different things, but this idea of being original is probably not going to be something that happens here. I am a person that regurgitates what the things that have impacted my life, and I try to maximize those things. So, yeah, if you ever think we're trying to be original, like even the film study, I didn't invent film study. I just do it the way I do it. I'm not inventing sitting down talking to 2 of my friends with football. No, we're just doing it the way we do it, and I hope you guys enjoy it around here. So, yeah, got a loaded show for you guys. PrizePicks, don't even know how I got onto that rant. PrizePicks.com, promo code Brooks, 100% deposit match over there today. What do you guys think about this Maason Smith shit?
NCAA is organized crime, man, because what they're doing to Maason Smith is criminal. I mean, the fact that he just had to miss last season, the entirety of it, and then you're going to slap him on the hand basically with a 1-game suspension for arguably one of their biggest games this season for something that happened in the summer of 2021, which I understand was before NIL was around and there was an autograph signing or whatever, but still, like, you can't just let that one go and be like, all right, bro, I think you did enough time already. We'll let you enjoy possibly your last college football season. But no, you have to make some type of point for no reason.
Ain't no possibly. It's his last. Breaking news, Maason Smith has declared for the 2023 NFL Draft. 2024, my bad.
Yeah, it's really fun to just watch the NCAA pick and choose what they're going to enact on. It's almost like they read every Twitter joke that's ever been said about them where the NCAA has no power, the NCAA is dead, they're dying. They'll probably end up watching this show, and it's kind of like, no, we're not. Watch this. We're going to suspend Maason Smith. We're going to take Reggie Bush's high. Stuff like that.
Brooks Austin's getting a cease and desist.
Yeah. So stuff like that is just really entertaining to watch them just pick and choose what they have power on. It's so petty at this point.
I guess their goal is not to have wins in the win column, right? But you would think at some point they're trying to get some public relations back because they are about to lose. I don't know if the NCAA is there to make money, but they would have to have been pulling money off of all this in years past. So, like, are they upset that the portion of the split's about to get lost? Are they upset that the college football is about to separate from them? It doesn't matter why they're upset. It's the fact that it's clear that they are. If you just observe their actions as of recent, again, this isn't inconsistencies. Inconsistencies we're good with. We've talked about. We understand. We don't expect the NCAA to be consistent. We do expect them to have a sense of fairness about them, have a sense of non-pettiness, which is exactly what this feels to me like. They didn't get him enough on the FBI wiretaps with Will Wade. They didn't get him enough on, swindling money out of the local children's hospital for $400,000, which was all in the most recent NCAA investigation on LSU. But now they're going to go get the best player on the defense or the second best player on the defense for signing autographs 6 months before he was able to. Stupid shit out of the NCAA today. Hope you hit that thumbs up button. Hope you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We got a fun little segment here. I told myself last night when I went back and watched, don't tell them it's going to be fun. Just do the damn segment. So let's do the damn segment. Why won't you win a national title? Everybody's been telling you this offseason why your team is great, including most of you fans watching tonight that are most likely Georgia fans because we're still new here on this national exhibition. Or exhibition? What do you call it when you?
Yeah, that works. Go ahead.
No, exhibition's a practice. What do you call it? Excursion?
Excursion.
This little national excursion that we're on right now. But everyone's been telling you your team's great. You got all this preseason hype. There's no better team than an undefeated team when you're 0-0. Everybody's great. I went through the top 12 teams today, and every single one of these teams, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, USC, Penn State, Florida State, Washington, Clemson, Texas, Tennessee, every single one of your fan bases today believes you have an opportunity to win a national title. You do, okay? So tonight we're going to tell you why you won't. Okay, we're going to go through each one of these football teams and they're ranked in the top 12, and I'll tell you where your Achilles heel is. I'll tell you why come December when you look up and you had critical losses that cost you an opportunity to play for a national title. I'll tell you why they happened right now, starting with the University of Georgia, number 1 team in the country. The schedule says you should be 13-0. The schedule says you should be playing for an SEC championship. The schedule says no matter what, even if you lose an SEC title game, you should go to the college football playoff because you're going to be at least a 10-point favorite in every single football game. So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you win every single football game this year? Well, I think injuries are a major thing. I think we've already seen that. 8 guys on the IR right now for the University of Georgia. Not a big deal, kind of right around the status quo for what they standard typically have. But what if they're untimely injuries? What if there are injuries throughout the year that you can't necessarily predict or you can't necessarily prepare for, and boom, they happen sudden, and it costs you a football game? That's college football. That can certainly happen. That would be my biggest concern. My second biggest concern for Georgia, and what might nip you in the bud, you don't have a lot of tests. You don't really know who you're going to be. Okay, so the first time you do get tested, what happens? And for the love of God, hopefully that doesn't happen when you already have a loss on the schedule, right? What happens if you get snuck up on by Ole Miss? All right, you show up flat at home. They beat you. And then you actually have a battle, a 4-quarter battle, a real test on the road the next week. It only takes 2. It only takes 2 in college football nowadays. That would scare me if I'm the University of Georgia. Injuries. Where are my tests? How am I going to know whether or not I'm battle tested and ready for a war before it actually happens? Again, it only takes 1 in this sport. Number 2, Michigan, number 2 ranked team in the country. I have a fear that Michigan, like the last 2 years, okay, they get into a college football playoff and they are one-dimensional, okay, meaning offensively they get to a position or they get to a standpoint in the game where they can't just run over people. I think they ran into this last year against Illinois and a couple of bad calls bailed them out. But when your sledgehammer doesn't work, you're not breaking the granite today because you're not big enough, you're not bad enough. The other team showed up with some shit in their, in their game plan. They showed up a little chip on their shoulder. They're punching you in the mouth. When you're a one-dimensional football team that has made your identity on being tougher than everybody else, when you show up that one day and you aren't the biggest and baddest bully on the schoolyard, what happens? Because the last 2 years, you've been in some really, really testy waters and haven't been able to be a balanced enough football team to overcome those type of one-dimensional letdowns during that day. So that would be my problem if I'm Michigan. And it's a problem that you haven't been able to overcome the last 2 football seasons. Ohio State, it's clear. It's not offense. It's always been defense. Can you stop the explosives? I don't need you to be a 17-point per game allowing defense. I don't need you to play all Big Ten defense like Penn State does every year. I don't need you to play like Michigan does defensively. I don't need you to be Georgia defensively. But I don't need you to be giving up 75-yard touchdowns. I don't need you to be giving up 80-yard touchdowns. I don't need us to have a 14-point lead and then boom, suddenly it's a tie ball game because all they did was run 2 plays, got 2 touchdowns, and we went 3 and out one time. We can't have that if we're going to be a national title contending football team. It will nip you in the bud. If you lose this football season, it will be because of that reason right there. Alabama, nice and simple. No quarterback play. No consistent quarterback play right now. Absolutely. We know that one. That one's easy. But the one I never hear anybody talking about right now, Alabama averaged 8 penalties per game last year. They were 126th in the country. 126th in the country in penalties forced. Who is that? That's not a Nick Saban coach football team. That's a coach of discipline. That's a coach that's always in everybody's ass. That's a coach that's all about the process, all about buying in. We, not me. All that stuff. Do your job. Penalties? 126, the problem? What? That'll cost you football games. It cost you football games last year. Bad quarterback play and undisciplined? What? That's not Alabama football. That's not a football team that can win a national title. If you have that issue again this year, it will cost you a championship. LSU, that schedule, man. That schedule's absolute brutal. You got FSU, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State first 4 weeks of the season. It does not get any tougher in college football than what you have to open the year, all right? And Jaden Daniels being a rushing quarterback, can you keep him healthy for a full year? I know Garrett Nussmeier is good. I know he's a solid backup. It's about as solid of a backup as college football provides this season. But can you keep him healthy? Because when he fell off last year, when he was banged up, your offense fell off as well. USC's nice and simple. Defense wins in December. Defense wins in December. Tone, attitude, physicality. Utah's whooped up on you in the last back end of the year over and over and over again. You know why? Defense, physicality, toughness, stuff you have to instill in your roster prior to the football season that you never seem to. I know your offense is great, but we know why you won't win a national title this year, USC. It's because of your defense. Let's move on to Penn State. Having one big brother is one thing. It's easy. It's not easy. It's overcomable. Right? After year of losing to Big Brother, Georgia eventually gets over Alabama. After year over year of losing to Big Brother, Michigan eventually gets over Ohio State. But when you got two of them sons of bitches, that's really, really hard to do. Think about Ole Miss every single year. It's really, really hard for Ole Miss to get out of the SEC West. Why? Because they got two big brothers in the division. Penn State, you got two big brothers. Can you overcome them both? Really, really hard to do. And you're going to have to overcome both of them and then go win a Big Ten championship or overcome one of them and hope you get a tiebreaker. It's really hard to overcome two big brothers, no matter how talented you are. Florida State, we're stealing Josh Pate's take from last night. The blue chip ratio is a real thing in this sport. If you are not talented enough to hang with the big boys, you just won't hang with the big boys. You won't. Not for 15 weeks in a row, which again, under the college football, 4-team playoff method, you kind of have to be perfect. You got to be perfect 14 out of the 15 weeks in college football. And if you don't have the dudes, the Jimmies and the Joes, to do that, you won't. Clemson, you're nice and easy too. Your offensive line's abysmal. Go watch that bowl game. It's embarrassing how fast your quarterback's getting hit over and over and over again. I believe Cade Klubnik. I believe in Cade Klubnik. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's going to be really, really good. But I don't care how good you are at the quarterback position. If you can't hold the ball for longer than 2.5 seconds on average, you're not going to have very explosive offense. I don't believe Clemson, despite the fact that no Riley ever has needed good offense. I know Garrett Riley's there. I know Lincoln Riley's made a career out of never recruiting a single 5-star offensive lineman one. By the way, I don't think he's ever signed one. Don't think Lincoln Riley's ever signed a 5-star offensive lineman. You know why? Because he doesn't care. He doesn't need it, all right? But Garrett Riley, ACC, that Clemson offensive line, porous, gonna need it. Pac-12 with Washington here at number 10, really easy for me. Pac-12 scheduling, check this out. They play USC, Utah, Oregon State, and Washington State in the last 4 weeks. 4 straight weeks to close their season. They got to play USC, Utah, Oregon State, Washington State. No bueno. Not great. You're not going to survive that with one loss. And guess what? If you do, you got to play the Pac-12 championship game the next week. Texas, show me. Show me you are a winning football team before I have any idea that you're going to compete for a national title. You lost 5 football games last year by 1 score or less. You know what that tells me? You are not a winning program yet. Okay? Those 5 games, that's got to go to a 3-2 record, not an 0-5 record, before I'm out here saying Texas is back. They're about to go play for a national title and win one. Win one? Are you kidding me? No way. You can't be that inconsistent week in and week out and think that I'm going to think you're going to win 15 games in a row or that you're going to win 5 games in a row to close the season. That's just not how it works in the history of college football. In Tennessee, defense and growing pains. Okay, year 2, year 3 under Heupel. New quarterback, you're actually going to experience some growing pains this year. Sustained success is not that easy in the SEC. Don't think it is. Some of you right now as a fan base in Tennessee think y'all just going to wake up and be a 10-win football program again this year because you did it last year. That's not how this conference works. You got to have sustained success on the recruiting trail. You got to have sustained success and retention rate in your coordinating field. You got to have all those things to be repetitively great in the SEC. And I don't know if they did enough of a good enough job filling all the holes. Rat-a-tat-tat, boys 1 through 12. What'd you think?
Man, that was impressive, first off. But also, one thing I
would... A little lightheaded, just slightly lightheaded. Not a bunch, just a little.
One thing I did add about Florida State, or that I would add about Florida State, is that I also think it's tough to be relatively new to this relevance and to this light that you're being shined on in this college football playoff potential team. And so I think because in years like last year, you were expected to be a pretty big program, a pretty decent program, and you kind of overcame those expectations a little bit. Whereas this year, it's like people are pinning you down as an ACC champion, and it's a team that is going to be in the Final Four. So
it's all great to say we are a national title contending football team. It's great to tell your football team that. Every team believes they've got a chance, or they should. If they're coached well, they should believe, we can do this. Why not us? That kind of mentality. But it's one thing to actually have the expectations where people believe you should be a good football team. That's a different weight on your shoulders, particularly for a head coach, too. Or even for like Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis has been playing with nothing but house money for years. Now he's going to be going into football games heavily favored. That's a different vibe. That's a different feeling. I think you hit the nail right on the head there. That's different than just the schedule. The schedule presents its own problems. The expectations present a whole other set of problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for Georgia, I just simply said, it's really freaking hard to win 3 in a row. There's a reason why someone hasn't done it since the 1930s. So winning 3 national championships, yeah, it's a hard thing to do, but
dude, winning the 2, there was such margins. Yeah. I mean, 1 field goal against Ohio State. You know,
Malachi Starks doesn't tackle the Missouri running back.
Malachi Starks doesn't tackle the Missouri running back. That's just last year. I mean, we could talk about. I don't do the injuries. I do the big plays in the games. I think that matters. Like how swings of Uncle Mo happen when the games are actually being played is excusable. We can talk about those breaks. If he doesn't call a timeout down 14 on that fake punt, if that stuff doesn't happen, right? We can do that. Don't do the Jameson Williams stuff. Don't do that. I don't like that. I think that's not necessarily soft. I think that's an excuse that we don't allow, okay? Because that's football. Those are injuries. Injuries is football. This sport is tough, man. It's gruesome. It takes people out.
Another thing I thought about when you were listing off all those teams, there is a ton of new quarterback turnover on those rosters. And
coordinating turnover.
Yeah, and I would almost guarantee that not every single one of those guys is going to live up to the hype. You're telling me Carson Beck, Drew Aller, whoever Alabama puts out there, whoever Ohio State puts out there, Cade Klubnik, Joe Milton, all those guys are going to be as good as you're saying in the offseason? I don't know who it's going to be, but someone's not going to live up to the hype there, and their team's going to suffer greatly because of it.
That's a great point. Not all. I think we get so accustomed to transfer quarterbacks coming in and having immediate success, and sometimes it's just not like that. Sometimes you don't have that immediate pop-off. Mm-hmm. Like even Joe Burrow took a year, right? Took a year, took a coordinator change, took a record-breaking year with your wide receivers being beyond elite in that singular season. So, yeah, we don't see a ton of non-success stories from the quarterback transfer market, but we don't talk about those. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about the guys like JT Daniels who transferred from USC and kind of flamed out at Georgia. We don't talk about because we just don't. We just don't talk about all the different examples of guys who've had to not only transfer once, but maybe even transfer twice.
Well, yeah, it's also the thing of, like, law of averages. Not everyone can be as good as you think they're going to be in the offseason. Like Joe Milton, Carson Beck, Drew Aller, whoever Ohio State puts out, they can't all win they can't all be Heisman contenders. There's a possibility they play that well, but I would say there's not – I would almost guarantee that not all of them live up to the hype this year.
Plus, I mean – think about it, every single year. There's always a team or two that start out as a top 12 team at the beginning of the season, and then week 10 rolls around and they're nowhere to be seen in the rankings. Like someone flames out, something just didn't click. It's going to happen. It happens every single season.
It was so interesting for me to hear, and I know Harbaugh just speaks fondly of his football team because that's the way he does it. But so interesting for me to hear a football coach, college football coach, tell the media that his quarterback has Patrick Mahomes-like tendencies and looks like Josh Allen-like tendencies. They don't play football like that at all at Michigan. I mean, look it up. Look up his game logs, J.J. McCarthy. See what his career attempts, his high is.
He had like 2,600 passing yards last year?
Yeah, but I'm talking about his single attempts in a singular game. What was the most he threw? I bet it's less than 30. Michigan plays a brand of football right now that national analysts were shitting down Kirby Smart's neck for playing at the University of Georgia.
322 attempts last season.
What was his? Go to his game log. Tell me what his most attempts in one singular game. And then after that, tell me how many times he threw for more than 30 attempts, because that was the number. Georgia fans will remember this. Mm-hmm. When Georgia wasn't winning elite football games in January and December, it was because they were finally having their quarterback be asked to throw the football more than 30 times. And guess what? The dude wasn't ready for it, right? Whether it was Jake Fromm, whether it was Stetson Bennett, whoever it was, they just weren't ready to be asked to carry the load that they hadn't been asked to carry for 14 games previously.
He went over 30 attempts 3 different times. His most was 36 against Indiana last season.
All right, so Indiana, and I bet Ohio State was one of those football games. Did they throw the football a lot in that football game?
He threw it 24 times. 34 against Illinois.
Okay.
And then the other one's TCU.
TCU. Okay, so a shootout. Illinois, a football team that made them one-dimensional. That's what I was talking about. When you run up on a football team that stops your running game, all right, it makes you say, all right, quarterback, all right, receivers, we're putting 8 in the box. The rest of you guys got to beat us today. That quarterback's got to beat us and that receiver's got to beat us. They got pent up a lot of times when that was the case, and that comes to bite you. When you have to play a brand of football that you're not used to playing to win a critical football game, 9 times out of 10, you're just not going to do it, right? You're just not going to do it. We used to talk about this all the time. We used to get frustrated how Georgia was playing Kentucky and beating Kentucky the way that they needed to beat Kentucky, and then the next week having to go on the road and play a Florida football team that's putting up 40 points a game. You can't do that. You have to win in August like you're going to need to win in January. Because if you don't win August through November, like you're going to need to win in December and January, guess what? You're not going to be ready to do so. All right, you're not going to be ready to do so. So this idea of being one-dimensional is the same reason I have questions about Alabama. Really? Okay, you're great. You got a great 5 deep on that offensive line. What happens? Tyler Booker has a foot injury. What happens? J.C. Latham goes down. What happens? Y'all show up at Mississippi State in Starkville or wherever you play that football game, and all of a sudden Mississippi State showed up with a little piss and vinegar on that front 7. What happens? Now Jalen Milroe's got to throw the ball 35 times today for us to win? He ain't thrown the ball 35 times in a singular practice since spring ball. What are we doing? How are we going to win today? We don't have a recipe for success. That's not it. Balanced football is the only way to do this. I mean, look at the years past and the winners. They all play balanced football. Y'all take that LSU team for granted. They threw the ball really, really well. They ran the ball for almost 200 yards a game. They ran the piss out of the football, so much so that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a first-round draft pick. Like, it requires balanced football to win national titles. It's not just about throwing the football. It's not just about, turning teams over. It's not just about playing one style of football. You got to have the ability to play a multitude of ways in order to be out here winning national titles. Any other bones to pick there?
Only one I would have is that scheduling is going to be a huge factor. And I think a lot of problems we operate on is, you beat this team last year, so you should be able to beat them again. You know, if you're Tennessee, we beat Alabama last year, it'll be fine beating them again.
Even though we got to go on the road.
Yeah. So things like that. Florida State, we beat LSU, so you can't operate on this assumption that last year is going to look anything like this year, which I think a lot of teams are doing. So,
I wanted to say LSU was going to doggy stomp Florida State to start the season, but without Maason Smith, that one kind of makes me a little worried. Mm-hmm. That guy is a game wrecker.
Well, I mean, they almost beat him last year without him.
They did.
He got
and
hurt.
It was Brian Kelly's first game, and you could see the growing pains throughout the year. I mean, they were a completely different
People
football
were
team.
selling on LSU and Brian Kelly so early after that game.
I was, because, again, I think I learned my lesson, okay, with regards to people like Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly will never look like he's having a good time on a sideline, ever. And it doesn't look like Kirby and Nick and Will Muschamp and Jim Harbaugh and these really emotional football coaches, they just look pissed off all the time. They just look mad about the events that are happening in front of them. Brian Kelly, when he looks mad, he looks like he's ready to blame somebody, and it just looks bad. But it's not the case. It's just a look. It's an appearance. It's a facade. Because when you actually watch him, you're like, damn, dude's coaching some football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, ACC predictions. We got a little bit left on tonight's show. I think we learned a lot through doing our first couple of conferences. We drug some shit out. We were going way too long on predictions, doing scoring systems, doing power, all this stuff. Now we're just going to do power rankings. We're going to tell you who the best 5 teams are in each of these conferences, who we believe they are, why we believe that, because that's all that really matters. Except for the Big 12, there's not a 12-deep conference in this sport. All right, it's about 5 of you that can win it. All right, and the rest of you are just playing for bowl games, just playing to see if you can win 6. All right, no offense to the Purdue's of the world. Purdue, why is Purdue always my shot there?
I don't know. Purdue's probably one of the more middle-of-the-road teams.
Purdue is like
in
a
the Big
fun
Ten.
Big Ten team to root for because they have a history of like being the spoiler makers. Like they are the people that ruin other seasons. So I don't know where your hatred for
I would
them
say
comes from.
It's not even hatred. It's just their average.
Bulletin
when
board,
my
like,
mind says
dartboard.
average, I go right there, Purdue.
Well, then that's fair, I guess.
Northwestern's probably a better shot than Purdue.
But Northwestern's not even average. Northwestern's like
if you're
here
going
and there
based on
bad.
that, then yeah, that's a fair take. Purdue is average.
Purdue is 7-5.
Yeah.
When I think of 7-5, I think of Purdue. That's
All right.
okay.
That's fine, yeah.
That's fair then.
Just like, if I think of 8-4, I think of Kentucky. But if we're just trying to be perennially average, Purdue.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. No shouts to Purdue. ACC predictions. Let's talk Power 5. I'll give mine right off rip. Actually, I'll say for last. What you got? Let's go Power 5.
Oh, all right. You want me first? All right. I got FSU at the top of the ACC. I got Clemson right behind them. North Carolina, I think Drake May just kind of carries that football team one last season. NC State right behind North Carolina. And then I have Duke coming in at 5.
Why Florida State over Clemson? Let's hear it.
I just think they're the more complete team. That offensive line, like you mentioned, and your why you won't win a national title, that does scare me for Clemson. They haven't really, like you said, they haven't recruited that position very greatly over the past couple of years. And I think with a guy like Cade Klubnik coming in his first full year as a starter, that makes me a little hesitant. I think Jordan Travis is a great playmaker. I think that FSU has all the pieces on both sides of the football necessary to go and win that conference.
Yeah, when I went back and watched it, I watched the Clemson versus Tennessee game to scout both Joe Milton and Cade Klubnik. I think every fourth note on Clemson's offense was, Jesus Christ, can we not put a finger on a soul? I've talked about this on this channel before, but I need to mention it more and more and more and more. I don't care if you play middle school football. I don't care if you're a coach on high school level, college level. The bare minimum for an offensive line is that we put hats on hats. Okay, we got 5 guys. If we don't block at least 5 guys, or at least put our body in front of 5 guys, I have failed as an offensive line coach. There are so many times watching Clemson where dudes just, that guy ran right through a gap. Where the fuck did he come from? Why did nobody touch him? What the hell? Over and over and over again. Inexcusable type of play for a football program, I'm told, every year, got a chance. Got a chance at the national title. So I'm with you, even though I put them number 1, and I'll tell you why in a little bit.
So I'm going to go 5-1. I had 5.
Ooh, build it. Build that suspense, baby.
I got Miami at 5. I think Manny Diaz makes a big jump with the 2 new coordinators. He'll kind of turn that program around, and they'll be perennial 8-4, 7-5. They're talented enough to do that. 4, I've got Pitt. I think they're also one of the more talented teams in the conference, but they just got a terrible schedule. Then
how bad's the schedule? You were telling me about.
Well, let me read you a 5-game stretch to close out the season. Louisville at Wake Forest, at Notre Dame, Florida State at Syracuse. You're on the road 3 out of 5 weeks, and 2 of those games is
that Q's game, sneaky tough too.
Yeah, and then you got at Notre Dame in the middle of that. I mean, Notre Dame kind of doesn't really have a huge home field advantage, but still.
Is there a more beautiful man in college football than Sam Hartman? Have you seen these photos?
All right,
I have seen the photos.
Holy shit! Go ahead.
Then 2, I've got did I say 3 yet?
I don't think so.
I don't know. We were just talking dudes.
Yeah, talking dudes. I got UNC at 3. Like for the same reason Jay Will said, Drake May is going to really carry that team. Florida State at 2, Clemson 1.
I'm just all caught up in Sam Hartman. Just like a luscious, thick beard.
Yeah.
I mean, professionally groomed. Must run a comb through it before he goes out to practice. Certainly doesn't wear a chin strap like during practice because it would cause some type of indentions on that beard. But my God, handsome. Handsome human being. All right, I got Clemson at number 1. I think they have the best roster, top to bottom still. And they have the best coach in the conference. I know we take a lot of, in the national media, everyone likes to take a lot of stabs at Dabo Swinney, and I do, but I still think he's a really good football coach. And he's the best coach in that conference. I already told you, I think Cade Klubnik's a really, really good college football coach, or college football quarterback. Don't know what the top-end ceiling is going to be from an NFL perspective because the traits aren't just as traity as some of the other guys, but nonetheless, there's plenty of potential for him to be a great, and I mean great, college quarterback because everything that requires to be a great college quarterback, from being a great leader to being accurate with the football to making great decisions and being a good enough athlete to make people miss and avoid rush and all that good stuff, he's always on point with all of that good stuff. So I like them to still win this conference because, again, they get Florida State at home. They have the better top to bottom roster. I like Clemson to finish first. I do like Mike Norvell, and I do have Florida State here at number 2. But I think Bobby Bowden did something to college football fans, and what he did was he made you think that this job's easy. He made you think that winning at Florida State and winning consistently and winning at an upper echelon level is something that is easy. It is not. Florida State is not a football program that is up with the powerhouses in college football with regards to resources. That's not how this works. He pretty much just has to recruit Florida. He just has to recruit South Georgia, and he kind of has to get into that southeastern part of Alabama. But outside of that, the digital footprint and the national footprint of Florida State is not what you thought it was. This isn't the days of Bobby Bowden. We're so far removed from that. Winning at Florida State is a tougher job than a lot of people realize. So consistently winning at Florida State, living up to expectations at Florida State is a tough thing to do. I think they finished second. Again, I do question their top end or their overall top end talent, and I question how well you handle expectations when it becomes expectations for the first time. They have weight on their shoulders at Florida State for the first time in 10 years, since 2014. It's the first time since they were the defending national champions that people expect something out of this football program. That's big time. Number 3, I got Duke. I really like Riley Leonard. I really like Mike Elko. I really like Duke football. I think Duke football is tough. I think Duke football is physical. I think Duke football is sound fundamentally. That's what I think Duke football is, all right? So I got Duke number 3. I like North Carolina in at number 4. I think Drake May is going to go 7-5, scoring 70 points a game. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
I think Drake May is going to go 7-5, scoring 70 points a game. It's going to be fun as hell to watch, but you're going to look up, and they might be losing to an HBCU team in the fourth quarter because they've given up 50 to a team that's only got like 25 guys on the roster. That happened last year. Do y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. FAMU got their ass, okay, with like 40 dudes on the roster playing the third-string quarterback, putting up 45 on Gene Chiswick's ugly butt. Gene Chiswick, you're not ugly. I don't know why I did that, but your defense sure as shit is ugly. Miami
Sending
F5.
shots tonight.
Dude, you know, it's testy. We're in testy waters. There's 69 people watching tonight. I figure we give them a little sauce. You know what I mean? Hey, Miami, number 5. You can't recruit at a better level than everybody else in your conference and be this piss poor. It's impossible. It's impossible. Miami has recruited at a top 10 level since Mario Cristobal has gotten there, and they just out here getting dubbed up by Middle Tennessee State. It's impossible to be this bad on Saturdays and recruit this well. I have no doubt about it that Mario Cristobal will have a better year this year than he had last year. It's just impossible not to believe.
Yeah, I had them right outside of the top 5. I had them right in at 6. I think they are going to have an improved season from last year. Lord, I hope so. You better have an improved season from last year. But they should. It's so weird because Miami always feels like that team is like, you should be really good. You should be in the top 3, top 4 of this conference every single year. But for some reason, things just have not clicked down there.
Yeah, I had Miami at 5 for the same reason. You can't be that bad with the roster, although Texas A&M is trying to do that. Going back to Florida State, though, I kind of agree with you where when you see these teams that have been like sleeping and dormant for so long get back to relevance, their first jump is national championship. That's our next goal. You know, we saw it with Tennessee last year. You saw it with Florida in 2020. Those teams usually don't perform well when you get back onto the national relevant scene. They always underachieve their goals. So I think Florida State's probably going to fall short this year. It doesn't help that you don't have a good blue chip ratio, like Josh Pate said. It doesn't help that you have to play Clemson at Clemson. It doesn't help that you have to open the season with LSU either. So I think their expectations are a little too lofty for right now.
As per usual, fan, short for fanatic. You're not supposed to have realistic expectations about your football team as a football fan. That's not how this works. It's not how any of this works. So, yeah, I think we've kind of got the ACC nailed down. Let's talk about Offensive Player of the Year. I'll go first. If we're going to take Drake May off the board, are we?
Yeah,
we're going to take Drake May off the board.
I typed him in.
We do that around here. Easy takes don't stand around this network. I got Will Shipley as Offensive Player of the Year. I think with the way in which Garrett Riley should be able to gadget that guy, he's going to have a big year, all-purpose year. I'm not saying he's going to do most of the rushing there because Phil Maffa's really, really good. Shouts out Grayson High School. But I don't think that there's anybody in college football that can go into a game against Clemson and feel safe like that dude's not about to Christian McCaffrey their ass for 4 quarters.
Yeah, they love using him in any way, shape, or form that they can. I think that's a really good pick. I went with kind of an easy one, maybe Jordan Travis, maybe the next easy one behind Drake May, just because he can make plays with his feet a little bit. He's got the arm talent, and like I said, I think he's got some offensive weapons that'll help him out a little bit. I just think he's a player that is built to put up numbers to win Offensive Player of the Year.
The run scheme that Norvell runs for him is really unique, man. You talking about having to add an extra hat into the equation for the quarterback in the run game. Well, Mike Norvell, I vividly remember studying it because Mike Norvell's offensive coordinator, Kyle Whittingham, was the guy that took the offensive coordinator job at Oregon with Bo Nix, if you guys remember. And now Kyle Whittingham's the head coach at Arizona State. Well, just 2 years ago, he was the offensive coordinator for Florida State. And they were doing such unique stuff with Jordan Travis from a quarterback counter standpoint to a quarterback read standpoint to a quarterback RPO mixed with deep shot standpoint. It was really enjoyable to watch the usage of that guy. And I will imagine it will be balls to the wall this year with it being his last and final year of college football. Who do you got?
I don't know why I feel this way, but going kind of off your Jordan Travis take, I think if Jordan Travis has a good season, Johnny Wilson will absolutely dominate. He's 6'7". I mean, you can't be that tall at receiver and not win 90% of your 50-50 balls. I think he's going to be a big red zone problem. I think he probably has a 1,000-yard season. So if Jordan Travis is as advertised, Johnny Wilson's going to be the offensive.
1,000-yard season, 10 touchdowns puts him in New York for the Biletnikoff, does it not?
Got to be, yeah.
I would think so for sure.
Which, I mean, if he has a 1,000-yard season, he's going to have double-digit touchdowns, I would imagine. Because like you said, he's a red zone target. Going to be one. I like all of those selections. Let's talk Depoy, Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to be consistent with the takes. I'm going to take Barrett Carter. And that leaves plenty of options on the board. But Barrett Carter is the best defensive player in college football. I don't do the it's not close thing. I don't like to do that. But if you watch Clemson football, find zero. You won't take long. It won't take you long at all. Find zero. Just watch him. It's so damn fun. You talk about I think one thing you're going to learn about this network if you're new to us, we're going to tell you to stop watching the ball. Okay? Stop watching the ball. Pick something else. Watch it. You'll learn something way more about football than just watching the ball. Watch zero this year. If you're watching Clemson, just watch zero. It's going to be a hell of a time.
I'm staying with Clemson, but I'm going a different player. I think Nate Wiggins shuts down the side of the field wherever he's on. So
I wanted Georgia. I tried to sell Georgia on Nate Wiggins so damn bad. He's from Westlake High School. He's 6'2". Played offense real early. Played defense and offense from a freshman year on. So athletic, so fun to watch, and it was just a guy that they didn't really start recruiting until late, and now he's gonna be all ACC this year. It'll be a top round pick.
I was honestly kind of surprised you didn't go this direction. I think Jared Verse is definitely Defensive Player of the Year worthy. Yeah. That's the star of Florida State's defense. Big playmaking ability coming off the edge for them. I mean, heck, that's Defensive Player of the Year.
Fun fact: does anybody know where Jared Verse transferred from?
No clue.
He did transfer. Did you know he transferred?
Didn't know he transferred.
A lot of people, because here's how I got into this discussion. I was texting a buddy of mine, an NFL scout, about, what does it look like? The first round draft pick having transferred discussion. That's what we were going through. And his example was, well, they'll get Jared Verse this year. And I can't remember where he transferred from. I'll find it eventually. But yeah, he's a new body over there. This is going to piss me off. Other college. He went to Albany first.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Recorded 71 tackles, including 21.5 tackles for loss, 14.5 sacks before FSU. So, yeah. What in the fuck was that kid doing at Albany? 6'4",
balling out.
60. Good God Almighty. Could you imagine playing at Albany and Jared Verse giving you the pause?
Who the hell is that?
I don't even know. Where's Albany even located?
New York.
You think so?
Yeah, there is an Albany,
the capital of New York.
Mm-hmm. Me no geography. Me no know it. Coach of the Year, I got Mike Elko. I think Duke's going to be a 9-10 win football team this year.
Stepping all over my toes.
Well, that's why the big boy goes first. You ever gone bass fishing?
Yeah.
We call this front loading. Like when you're on the front of the boat and you get to hit every spot first. I'm just front loading you, buddy. Brother.
All right, I guess I'll go Dabo Sweeney then. Even though I did not pick them to win the ACC. Sorry, bro. Look, blame him. Point the finger.
Doggy dog world, boys.
I'm going to start taking my takes first.
Just jumping in.
Yeah.
It's like, Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah, Dabo Sweeney. Even though I didn't pick him to win the ACC, Clemson's going to get back into the realm that we are used to seeing them in.
Yeah, I mean, if Clemson does what we think they should do this year, and Dabo does his, Jesus told me I should do this thing, he's going to be the coach of the year for the ACC. So
all in, baby, all in.
Praise be.
NAIL, nailed to this cross. It's been a while since I've given you something that has been impacting me in my life lately.
Are you closing out right now?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Did I forget
No,
something?
no. We
You're
got
not.
jerseys.
It's Jersey
Oh, we
Thursday.
got jerseys. Let's do this. I want to do this. It's Jersey Day Thursday.
It is.
Best overall unis in college. I think we're going to do this draft style, or what are we doing?
Yeah.
So it's kind of you want to.
Yeah. I'll
Explain this to me and
All
the
right.
audience.
So basically, me and Christian picked out 5 uniforms. Not necessarily the 5 best. There's a mix of in between across a bunch of different
It's a
teams.
party pack.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you a team and the jersey, and I'm going to put it up on the board, and you got to rank it 1 through 5. The only thing is you do not know what jerseys are coming next.
Oh.
So, like, if I say Georgia's red home jerseys, you got to say
5.
that. Okay, 5. You say 5. So then 5 is taken. You can no longer put.
Got it.
And so
I
that's
think
what
the
we're
audience has got it too. All right.
doing. All right, here we go. First one up. We got the Oregon Duck themed jerseys.
Okay, so this is the one with the yellow helmet and the duck on it.
It's got a white helmet, the orange shoes and socks.
Eventually, I'll get to see it here on the
Yeah.
actual stream. Oh, okay. Ugh. No, we're putting that 5.
No way,
That's
dude.
5.
I love
The-
that
because of the orange like bottom half. That thing is ugly.
It
Is
looks
that
like
an
a
orange
duck.
face mask too?
dude. It's a duck.
Fuck a duck. That thing looks horrible.
All right, we got
Absolutely horrible. 5.
We got Oregon at 5. Next up, we got the UNC blue, Columbia blue, got some black stripes on it, Columbia blue helmet, white pants. I think these are really clean.
This is not powder blue. This is something else.
Baby blue.
Oh, this is the baby blue. Okay. Ooh, I like that navy blue bar that's running in the middle of the helmet. I also like the bigger block on that. I'm going to stick that right at about 3.
All right.
Okay, we're going to put UNC 3. So we have right now that duck. Fuck that duck. We got that 5. And we got UNC 3. All right, who we got next?
Next up, we got, I think there's a new Tennessee uniforms.
Yeah, these are. I don't remember what game they played them in.
The new
but-
black Tennessee uniforms.
Oh, I've seen these. I don't like these at all. I'm kind of
Really?
mad that I used Oregon at 5, honestly. Because I don't, it's that god awful orange. Y'all know I hate this orange. Make that a
Yeah.
little larger for the, yeah, there you go. See, man, I'm over here silently doing your job. You're already doing it for me. All right, look, I'm going to put that 4 just because I hate the orange.
I think
it's the reason I had Oregon 5 because they had that duck orange in there, and that thing looks gross.
I think when they use orange as primary, it looks awful. But in this case, it's a very nice accent. It pops more. But
I'm out of here for
I'm also-
dehydrated piss.
I'm
We've
also a
already
sucker
talked
for
about it.
black uniforms. So.
Oh, sucker for black unis.
All right,
Everyone
well,
is.
I think I know where this one's going then, this next one, based on how you've ranked. We got LSU purple and gold uniforms. We got the gold pants, purple top, then the yellow helmet. LSU has an elite
Is
color
it crispy?
combination.
Let me see it.
I think it's pretty solid.
Oh, here it comes right here. Oh, this is the, they don't wear this a lot though because they wear white at home.
Yeah, I don't know why they do
So
that.
what do I have left? I have 2 and 1 left?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to put,
Dear God.
dang.
Dude, you
man.
made a bad list. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Y'all saved a really shitty one
We
for
set
last.
you up.
That's fudged. All right, we'll put this one because you guys led the witness here.
Well, to preface is like, Christian put like 5 really solid uniforms all together on the list, and I was like, man, we got to throw him one curveball. We got to put in like one.
And save it for last?
I didn't intentionally save it for last, to be honest. It just happened to be last on my list
right, what
of
is it?
pictures. It's probably the one. It's right there with Florida's bad uniform. Oh shoot! I deleted the picture. We got the neon green Michigan State ones. We're gonna make this one extra big, just so everybody can soak it in. Just horrible.
6th.
6. That's
6th.
appropriate.
That's awful, dude.
These are so bad.
They wore that?
Yes.
That's not even like high school level bad.
This just like nothing of that
You know
goes
what that's
together.
as bad as? That's as bad as the Nike Spark uniforms that they wore in the NFL.
Yeah.
Where there was just all neon all the time.
That's like, it's like Michigan State was like, how can we take everything shitty about Oregon's uniforms and make them our own?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And it's not in our color palette. But let's just put in some neon green and put it everywhere where it
Yeah,
It's
doesn't
not our
fit.
color palette at all.
Yeah,
and
why
let's make a
neon?
big state
Yeah.
right across the top.
Size 150 font right here. So
Disgusting.
New Times Roman. What's your favorite font? I'm an Arial guy myself.
Wingdings.
I use that's what I've been doing my notes in Arial.
Basic
I like
bitch.
that.
Yeah, no doubt. This too shall pass. Okay? It's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately because I'll be honest, the consistency required to achieve greatness is something that I struggle with. I struggle personally to instill positive daily habits in my life. I think it's something that I've always struggled with. I think I have a very short-term approach with my mental processes. Okay, I think about what's in front of me all of the time. But when I think about what's in front of me, sometimes I fail to realize that what I'm doing right now will directly impact what I am and who I am in the immediate future. What I do now impacts the future. Sometimes I fail to remember that, right? Consistency can be very, very boring. It requires daily inputs and it requires a lot of separation from emotion. You have to have the ability to take these emotions that I have and completely separate myself from those. Because the thing about feelings, okay, understand something about feelings. Feelings are very fleeting. They come and go. They are here now and they are gone soon. Feelings are the definition of something that is fleeting in your body, in your mind, and in your soul. This too shall pass. Think about it. This too shall pass. I'm feeling great lately. I got a great vibe. I'm happy about everything. Look at what life is doing for me. This too shall pass. I can't catch a break in life right now. Nothing's going my way. Why aren't things happening my way? This too shall pass. Man, look at all the momentum this channel's got right now. Look at all these Friday night mic'd up sessions that are bumping. We had Josh Pate this week. This too shall pass. Because last week I was on this network, and what was I talking about last week? How we're failing, how we're losing, how sometimes it's good to fail. This too shall pass, right? In every stage of your life, understand something, that feelings are fleeting, and the feelings get in the way of the consistency. If we can remove the feelings, how we feel about something, then we could just go about doing it, right? This too shall pass. How we feel today will pass, but the jobs, the requirements, the consistency required to be great, that's never passing. That's never going to be fleeting. The standard has to remain, right? The standard has to remain every single day, all right? So understand something. The moment we can separate our feelings from the requirements of the things that we have to do, we will be okay. Whatever you're feeling today, understand something, good, bad, indifferent, this too shall pass. Separate yourself from the feelings and the requirements of the day-to-day operations, and you'll be okay. I promise. All right. For everybody here for the Film Guy Network, patreon.com/Brooks Austin for Dogs Daily. We love you. We appreciate